Today we are ranking MMA fighters based on how I believe a fan interaction would go with them. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, so this is the way that we're going to do things. We have S through F over here, and I thought it'd just be fun to take a bunch of random fighters off the Topology page and rank them based on, like, let's say you found these guys just walking around on the street or something like that, and you were like, hey, Nate Diaz, you're super cool, want to take a picture or something along those lines. I'm talking about like a normal fan interaction, not like bothering these people when they're having dinner, not an actual UFC event where it's set up to actually see these guys. I'm going to be ranking them for that reason, starting off with Nate Diaz. I feel like Nate Diaz is a really big hit or miss because I can see him going, oh yeah, what's up? Yeah, what's up? And then just like being super cool about it, but like a really quick interaction. I don't think he'd take a lot of like time out of his day to talk to you. But there are also times where I can see Nate Diaz just being in a mood and being like, nah, fuck that, you know? So for that reason, I can see that going positively or negatively. I'm going to throw him into the C tier. Now, Diego Sanchez, that's a tough one because Diego Sanchez, we know that he's been like a little bit, I don't know exactly to what extent his situation is or what's been going on with him. I haven't necessarily been following. So I don't want to say he's been going crazy because I don't know, truthfully. I don't know how a Diego Sanchez interaction would go, to be honest with you. One that I can't necessarily predict. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to add a brand new tier below. And this is going to be for the I don't know tier. So, like, we're just going to write, like, NA. I feel like some fighters will be able to need to go into that spot. And that's where I'm going to throw Diego Sanchez. Jamal Hill is also one of those guys that could be a hit or miss. Because I'm just thinking of that. You know that post that went viral a little while ago where the guy was like, oh my god, you need to humble Jiri or whoever Jamal Hill was fighting. And then Jamal was like, humble my nuts, bro. I am humble. And he's like, dude, I'm cheering for you to win the fight. I literally just said I'm hoping for you. So I can see Jamal Hill being a little bit of a hit or miss. I'm going to throw him into the C tier with Nate Diaz. Luana Santos is probably really nice to interact with right now. I feel like that's going to change with time, because especially if she continues her win streak in the UFC, because obviously everybody thinks, or a lot of people think, that Luana Santos is the most attractive person in the UFC. With that will bring all of the weirdos, and then with time, with her dealing with all of the weirdos, will lead to her being really standoffish and kind of over with meeting fans. But right now, she seems all smiley, she seems all happy, she seems like she's really charismatic. So far, I'm going to throw her into the B tier. It's probably nice to run into her. Now, Aljamain Sterling, I don't know why. This one's a little bit more of a gut feeling. I could see him being like really chill to meet. I could see him taking time of his day to talk to you. I don't know, maybe it's because he's not appreciated by fans. I could just, if I feel like I saw Aljamain Sterling, I feel like it'd be a really good interaction. I'm going to throw Aljamain Sterling into the A tier. Alexa Grasso, I feel like, and of course, obviously, guys, this is all based on gut feelings with these fighters. I don't know how an interaction with these guys would ever go. I feel like Alexa Grasso might be our first S tier. I feel like she would just be really happy, really cheerful. Like, you ever see that old clip with her meeting Robert Whittaker and as a fan, and then she's like, oh my god, like, yay. Like, I feel like that's how it would go with Alexa Grasso. She would just be happy to see you, happy to talk to you, happy to be part of the situation. Somebody recognized her. I feel like Alexa Grasso might be an S tier. Alexander Volkanovski. Here's the thing with Alexander Volkanovski. I feel like if Alexander Volkanovski were to bump into like 10 people on the street that was fans of Alexander Volkanovski, I feel like he would be the same for all of them. Like, oh yeah, thank you so much for watching the fights. Like, he'd be nice, but I feel like he would just be the same. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think he would have a ton of unique interaction with people. He'd be taking pictures of people like, hey, thank you for taking the picture. Enjoy the fights. Like, I don't know. I feel that's what I feel for Alexander Volkanovski, but I do think it would be a little bit of a pleasant experience. So I'm going to throw him into the B tier. Alex Caceres. This dude seems like he's ridiculously chill. You ever hear Alex Caceres talk, any interview or anything like that? This dude, I wholeheartedly believe, would be a wholesome interaction. I feel like to the point where I could talk about just like training with this guy, or like, hey, any advice for somebody who wants to get into the MMA scene. I feel like he would just give you a really honest answer. Alex Caceres is going to the S tier above Alexa Grasso. Alistair Overeem. This one's tough. I'm not too sure, man. I'm not too sure. He might, I don't think there's anything anything that really stands out about Alexander Volkanovski, excuse me, Alistair Overeem. So I'm going to also throw him into the C tier. Amanda Ribas, we hear that she has good fan interactions. We hear that she's really cheerful. We hear that she is really giddy, really caring about her fans. I've heard good things about dealing with Amanda Ribas. I'm going to throw her into the A tier behind Aljamain Sterling. Anthony Rumble Johnson, man, makes me sad every single time I see this. Dude, I could wholeheartedly see this guy really taking time out of his day to talk to people that like watching him fight. I could really see that. He's the guy to just stop what he's doing. Of course, like unless, and obviously guys, there's no outliers here. It's not like these guys have an emergency where to go to. I'm talking about just like a regular day bumping into them, okay? I feel like Anthony Rumble Johnson would be so appreciative for people to really appreciate him, you know? I'm actually going to throw him into the S tier. I feel like that would be a really good fan interaction. I'm going to throw him right behind Alex Caceres. Anthony Showtime Pettis. I feel like it'd be a little bit similar to Alexander Volkanovski in the sense where he would be nice, but there wouldn't be too much substance to it. And of course, as always, guys, I could be totally wrong about that. I'm going to throw him into the B tier with Alexander. I'm going to throw him ahead of Alexander Volkanovski. Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is kind of done with the fans. So he may be in a point in his career where he's just does not want to talk to anybody anymore. I feel like interaction with him is going to get more and more like a little bit salty as time goes on. But I don't know. My instinct is telling me to throw him into the D tier. I'm going to throw him at the bottom of C tier because I don't have any reason to really like, oh, Anthony Smith would be so mean, you know? Bilal Muhammad. This one's tough too because a lot of people clown on Bilal Muhammad, right? And that's obviously not okay, but I feel like people are changing their tune on Bilal Muhammad just a little bit. People love winners, obviously. I was never a Bilal hater. I'm going to throw him into the C tier too. I'm going to throw him ahead of Nate Diaz. Beneil Dariush is probably amazing to meet in real life, dude. He is such a nice guy, family man, really down to earth. I feel like Beneil would just be, honestly, one of the perfect guys to me. I believe he's one of the nicest people, one of the most genuine people in the UFC. I wholeheartedly believe that about Beneil Dariush, and I'm going to throw him at the top of S tier so far. Bobby Green. I could see him just not caring about you. I could see him just like, yeah, what's up? And then just going about his day. I think that would take place for Bobby Green. D tier. Bo Nickal's an interesting one. Some of these are really tough. I feel like Bo Nickal would just be like a normal kind of reaction. Like he would, if you wanted to take a picture with him, if you wanted to like have a fight post with him, I feel like he would do that. I'm going to put him in the B tier ahead of Luana Santos. Kyle Braujo, we've seen clips from this guy, and he is very good with the people. The dude's always smiling ear to ear. The dude seems happy and content with life. Apparently, he is fantastic to meet in real life. I'm going to put him at the top of S tier, Kyle Braujo. And honestly, same for Brandon Moreno, man. We've seen clips from Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno seems very happy to have people appreciate his work. And he is right up there with Kyle Braujo, actually. Guys, I'm going to throw him ahead of Kyle Braujo. Apparently, Brandon Moreno is really laid back to meet in real life. Brian Ortega. This dude is probably too cool for you. This dude is 100% probably too cool for you. I don't think he would give you a lot of time of the day. He would just be like, oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, you like watching the fights? Cool. That's how I feel like Brian Ortega is going to go. D tier. Bryce Mitchell? I guess it depends who's meeting Bryce Mitchell. Because, I don't know, man. He could start off with a yap session if you're kind of like him. But other than that, he's probably an okay guy. I'm going to throw him into the C tier. I'm going to throw him right behind of Alistair Overeem. Paddy Pimblett. I feel like Paddy Pimblett would be pretty cool to meet. I feel like he'd be happy. He would care about you. I feel like he would sit back and take some time out of his day. I'm going to throw him at the top of the B tier. Charles Jourdain. This dude's fun, man. This dude's fun, and I can see him being a really chill interaction. I feel like if I bumped into Charles Jourdain, it'd be a cool thing to like talk about within the MMA community. So Charles Jourdain, I'm actually going to throw in front of Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to also throw him into the top of B tier. Charles Oliveira. Okay, I know that Charles Oliveira would be the type of guy to be really good in front of a crowd of fans, but like a one-on-one interaction, I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit more like Volkanovski and Pettis. I don't think there would be a ton of substance to that interaction. And again, last time I'll say it, guys, these are just gut feelings, of course. Of course, like, I could be totally wrong about these fighters. They could be the most caring person in the world, right? But I do still think that Charles Oliveira would kind of fit in with them, but he'd still be happy. He'd still have a good time. I'm going to throw him into the B tier as well. Clay Guida, we hear stories about Clay Guida, man. Apparently, he is one of the most kind and genuine people you can bump into when it comes to MMA fighters. I hear this. I've seen a couple clips with him. He is absolutely going into the S tier. I'm going to throw him right in front of Kyle Baralho. Cody Garbrandt. I don't know how this one would go, man. To be honest with you, I'm going to put Cody Garbrandt in the NA. I don't know what to think of Cody Garbrandt. Colby Covington, which is, this sounds funny because we have seen clips and seen the fans talk about behind the scenes how actually nice and genuine Colby Covington is when he's not putting on the act. We have that one famous clip, of course, you know, the one guy where he's like, Colby, I think you were super cool. I think that you should really show this side of you more. And then he goes, that's not what sells. So we hear a lot of stories like that from Colby Covington. Apparently he's really, he takes the time out of his day for his fans. Apparently he's a really nice guy when he turns off the act. For that reason, I'm going to throw him at the bottom of B tier. Corey Sandhagen. I don't know. I don't know about this one, man. Corey Sandhagen. Yeah, I'm going to throw him in the NA. I don't know how that would go. I feel like he'd be okay, but I can't really break down how that would go. Cub Swanson. I could see him really, really, really being a genuine and cool guy to meet in real life. I really could see that, man. He is absolutely going to the S tier. If you ever listen to this guy talk, you know that he is pretty content with life. He loves his fans. He loves what he does. He's a very, very happy and content person. I'm going to throw him into the S tier as well. Guys, this is tough, man. Because I feel like you could have a happy interaction with Cub Swanson. I feel like you could just talk to Cub Swanson for a little while. I'm actually going to throw him at the top of S tier, and I'm not going to be I'm not being biased in that sense. If you guys have been following the channel, you might know that Cub Swanson is one of my favorite fighters ever. But I really do believe if I ever bumped into Cub Swanson somewhere, it would be a really, really wholesome reaction. Davison Figueiredo. NA. I don't know how that one would go. I don't know. And again, the people, just to be clear, guys, the people in NA aren't bad. They're not below F or anything like that. It's just, I can't really put my finger down how an interaction with them would go. Dominic Cruz, I don't know. I could see him like, I don't know how that would go. You know what, guys? I'm actually going to throw Dominic Cruz also in the NA. I don't know how an interaction with him would go. Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I feel like this would be quick. I feel like if you bumped into Donald Cerrone, he'd be like, oh yeah, you want a picture? And then just, that's it. So I'm going to put him into the C tier right below Anthony Smith. Dustin Poirier. I feel like, again, talking about that same kind of tier of Showtime, Volkanovski and Charles Oliveira, he's used to meeting a lot of fans, and I think he'd be pleasant, but I don't think he would take a ton of time out of his day to sit down and like talk to you. And again, I'm not saying that these guys should do that. I'm not saying that we're worth their time or anything like that. Of course, everybody has their own life, like, and they're not obligated to stop just because of some fans. This is a very hypothetical tier list. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna throw Dustin Poirier with these guys, but I feel like I'm gonna throw him at the bottom of B tier. Okay, Tony Ferguson. Guys, I can see this one going poorly. Because Tony Ferguson, I don't know. He's just a weirdo, man. He is just a weirdo. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Well, not that he's necessarily a weirdo. If he's sitting here bragging about breaking his training partner's bones, then I don't know if he'd have necessarily a lot of consideration or a lot of compassion for somebody that wants to meet him. I'm going to put him at the bottom of his C tier because so many people love Tony Ferguson so much and he might know that. I don't think the meeting him would really go south. But I also can't see him like, I don't know. I'm going to leave him in the C tier. Francis Ngannou is absolutely just a flat out C tier. He'd be like, oh, hi. And he would put his fist up and be like, thank you. I feel like that's the entire interaction with Francis Ngannou. So I'm going to also put him in the C tier. I'm going to put him at the bottom of C tier. Jillian Robertson. When I was downloading the pictures for this fight, I was like, okay, you know what? Little bit more of a gut feeling. I feel like she would just be cool to meet. I don't have a reason for that. That one is absolutely just a gut feeling. And you know what? As a prediction, I'm going to throw it at the bottom of A tier. Don't know why. Glover Teixeira, 100%. This dude would be awesome to meet. I think he would be really, really happy. Kind of like Brandon Moreno, but Brandon Moreno would also like probably want to talk to you for a little while. Glover Teixeira would be happy and genuine to see you. I'm going to throw him into the A tier as well. But where am I going to throw him into the A tier? I'm going to throw him right behind Colby Covington. I'm going to throw him right in front of Jillian Robertson. And we can't. There we go. Love to see it. Henry Cejudo, he'd be awesome to meet. He'd be awesome to meet. I feel like he would have he would appreciate the fact that somebody is coming down to appreciate his work. I feel like he would sit down, he would talk to you 100%. Henry Cejudo is going to go into the S tier. I'm going to put him actually in front of Clay Guida. I feel like that'd be really, really nice to meet Henry Cejudo. Max Holloway, he's going into the A tier. He'd be happy. He'd be like, "Hey, what's up, brother?" And you might be able to, I don't know, give him a hug or something. I feel like he'd be down for that, and be a little bit of a quick interaction. Nothing like of incredible substance for an S tier, but I feel like he would be left positively meeting Max Holloway. I'm going to throw him into the A tier. I'm going to throw him right behind Aljamain Sterling. Leon Rocky Edwards, C tier. I feel like it would just be a neutral interaction. He'd be a little bit boring, kind of like Francis Ngannou. I'm going to throw him in front of Francis Ngannou, though. Jon Jones. Is he drunk? I don't know. But here's the thing, though. How many clips have we seen with Jon Jones? Jon Jones is so incredibly fake to the point where the interaction with him would be really, really nice. You ever see fan interactions with Jon Jones? He is so fakely nice, humble, genuine. Oh, thank you so much for being a fan. Thank you so much. Would you like a picture with me? Absolutely, we can take a picture. We got the champ over here. We got the champ. Like, Jon Jones, guys, as much of a hater as I am, this dude has got to be an S tier. He's got to be an S tier. We've seen so many clips of how he behaves, right? I'm going to throw him into the S tier. I'm going to throw him in front of Clay Guida. That's where I'm going to throw him, dude. Now, excuse me, guys, I am going to move my face cam, so I'm going to do a little bit of a jump cut. And continuing on, Jim Miller. We got Jim Miller over here. Jim Miller, he'd be cool to meet, but I don't know if there'd be a ton to really take away from him. I think he's B tier. I think he's pretty cool. I'm going to put him behind Charles Jourdain in the B tier. Yuri Prochazka, actually, it would be a little bit more of the same, to be honest with you. But the problem is, his lack. I know he speaks English, but obviously it's not his first language, and I feel like that would kind of halt it just a little bit for that reason. Yuri Prochazka would be okay to me. I'm gonna put him in the C tier. I'm gonna put him right behind Bilal Muhammad. That's Demetrius Johnson, right? Oh, that's an old picture of Demetrius Johnson. He'd be awesome. He'd be awesome. I don't think he would like sit down with you the way that I feel like the people in S tier would be with you, but Demetrius Johnson would sit back. He'd be humble. He'd be really, really caring for the people that appreciate his work. I'm going to throw him into the A tier. I'm going to throw Demetrius Johnson right in front of Glover Teixeira and Jorge Masvidal. This is one of the biggies, one of the ones where we can see going down towards the D tier, because I feel like Jorge Masvidal would just be like a little bit from Brian Ortega in the sense he'd be too cool for you. I think that he might not even give you the time of day if he sees like Jorge Masvidal is like creepily following some girl in front of us. Like, let's say like we're walking on the side while we're walking down some like LA strip or something like that. His eyes would be on some girl in front of him, and then you stop Jorge Masvidal and be like, "Oh yeah, what's up, bro?" And then that would be like the end of it. He would just be not caring at all. I think that Jorge Masvidal belongs into the D tier. Joe Pyfer. Guys, okay, before I say this, I like Joe Pyfer. I'm not a hater of Joe Pyfer like a lot of the MMA community is, but I can see Joe Pyfer just straight up telling you to go fuck yourself, because he's so done with the fans, and he probably won't sit down and like try to analyze if this person likes him or not. He would just be like, "Nah, fuck you, bro. I'm not giving you a picture." I feel like that's exactly how that interaction would go. I'm going to throw him into our first F tier. Justin Gaethje, I feel like if he came up to Justin Gaethje, there wouldn't be a ton of substance to take away from it. I'm going to throw him into the C tier. I'm going to throw him right behind Bilal Muhammad, okay? Kevin Holland, I feel like he'd be more like the Anthony Pettis, Volkanovski, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier. These guys where it would be pleasant, but I feel like he would have the same interaction with maybe 10 people. I'm going to throw Kevin Holland at the bottom of B tier. Marvin Vettori. That's an interesting one. I don't know. Huh. What are we going to do with Marvin Vettori? Yeah, I feel like he'd be okay. Yeah, I'm going to put him at the bottom of B tier, right behind Kevin Holland. Macy Barber. I don't know. I don't know how Macy Barber would go. I'm going to throw her in NA. I don't know. I can't peg how Macy Barber would go. Now, Conor McGregor. Is this coked up McGregor? I feel like regardless, he would have a good interaction with McGregor. Like, mate! Like, he'd either be really, really hyped up and just talking about some nonsense, or Conor McGregor would, like... But the problem is, if you're seeing him one-on-one, somebody like Conor McGregor, you would never see one-on-one. But I'm going to assume that's the case either way. I feel like it'd be a positive interaction. I'm going to throw him at the top of B tier, right ahead of Charles Jourdain. Michael Bisping. This one could go either way. Kind of like Nate Diaz and Jamal Hill, this one could go either way. He can sit down. He might even roast you a little bit, but you also could have a very positive interaction coming from Michael Bisping. I'm going to throw him right with Alistair Overeem over here. And now I need to make this a little bit smaller. Excuse me, everybody. Apologies for the further jump cut over here. Misha Tate, I feel like, would be okay. I think that she would appreciate her fans. I'm going to throw her into the B tier. I'm going to throw her right... Actually, I'm going to throw her at the top of B tier. I'm going to throw her in front of Conor McGregor. Nick Diaz, a little bit more like his brother. Same kind of thing. We don't know. Sometimes this dude could appreciate the hell out of you, and sometimes he could tell you to go jump off a bridge. I feel like that's how it would go, but I feel like Nick Diaz is a lot nicer than Nate Diaz, so I'm going to throw him in front, but the Diaz brothers kind of in the same spot. Norma Dumont's an interesting one because right now, I don't know. She's not like, where was that other girl that I threw? Luana Santos. Luana Santos. I feel like she's not at the Luana Santos level where she's all giddy and happy to be everywhere, but the day is going to come where she's really, really sick of the fans. For now, though, I'm going to put her in the C tier. The interaction could go either way. I'm going to put her right below Bryce Mitchell, C tier. And C tier is not a bad placement, just so you guys know. And Rafael dos Anjos, I feel like he'd be sick to meet. He'd be really, really humble. He'd be really cool. I feel like he would take the time of the day to talk to you. Rafael dos Anjos is probably going to go into the A tier. Where might I throw him into the A tier, though? I'm actually going to throw him ahead of Amanda Ribas. I feel like he'd be an awesome interaction, Rafael dos Anjos. And Adam Moicano, a little bit more of the same. He'd be hyped up. It'd be cool, but I feel like there would be no substance to it. He'd be like, what the fuck is up, motherfucker? Like, I feel like that's how it would go. And a little bit more like the guys over at the bottom of the B tier. It'd be a positive interaction, but it wouldn't necessarily be a special one. I'm going to throw him ahead of Dustin Poirier into the B tier over here. Robert Whittaker. Dude, the guy's got to go into the S tier. We've seen too many times now of Robert Whittaker being genuine with people, being an awesome guy in general, and you could just peg Robert Whittaker without even like seeing any fan interaction with him, what he would be like. Robert Whittaker, absolutely 100% is going into the S tier. Where am I going to throw Robert Whittaker in the S tier, though? I'm going to throw him... Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker, I'm going to throw him right in front of Clay Guida. Ronda Rousey is done with the fans. Ronda Rousey is miserable at this point. She would not give you the time of day. I do believe that. I think she's with Joe Pyfer. I'm going to throw her to the F tier. Yeah, she's done, man. She's done. Rose Namajunas, I actually feel like wouldn't be a good interaction. I don't know. She seems like one day she could just be like, oh, all the fans hate me. And the next day she could be like, oh, yay, I'm an MMA fighter. I don't know. I just don't see it going that well. I'm going to throw her into the top of D tier, but it could be better than a Bobby Green. Boss Rutan. We've seen fan interaction with Boss Rutan. He's great with the people. He's great with the fans. But again, more of like these guys into the B tier over here, except I think he's a little bit better than that. So I'm going to put him actually a little bit more ahead in the B tier. I'm going to put Boss Rutan actually at the top of B tier, because you get a little bit more from Boss Rutan. Israel Adesanya. I don't know. Actually, I might have to put Israel Adesanya in NA because I could see him like I was talking about Brian Ortega and Jorge Masvidal. I could see him being like way too cool for you. But I could also see him like wanting to be that guy where he's like, you know, they always say that Israel Adesanya wants to be a guy who's in an edit. I feel like that Israel Adesanya would be so kind and genuine to somebody just for the sake of like maybe someone's recording this and everybody's gonna post it and see, hey, what a nice guy Israel Adesanya is. I feel like that could also be the case, but I could also see the interaction going negatively. So I'm gonna put him in the NA. I don't know. Sean Strickland, F tier for sure. He's going in the bottom of F tier because I could see him. You can't predict Sean Strickland. You can't predict him. He could be cool, and other times where he could fight you. He can invite you to his gym to fight you. He could make fun of you. Like, for example, if I bump into Sean Strickland right now, and I like to think honestly, I like to think I'm a pretty masculine guy, but I could bump into Sean Strickland, and he would look at me and go, oh, you got, like, the Hulk on your shirt. Well, this fucking guy. And then, like, to the point where he would actually, like, just push you. More so or not, he would laugh at you, right? He'd laugh at you, and Sean Strickland, you could have some good interaction with him, but the potential for that to go south is just so great that I'm putting him into the F tier. Drick is 2+C. I feel like it's more of the same with this group I'm talking over here. Pleasant, but not a ton of substance from it. I'm going to throw him into the B tier in front of Alexander Volkanovski. Let's continue on to Michael Chandler. I feel like he'd be really, really good interaction, but the problem is Michael Chandler, he'd be nice to talk to. He would sit down and take a time out of his day to talk to you, but I think that Michael Chandler would ultimately just try, he would try to improve your life whether or not you need it. He'd try to give you some motivational speech, but at the end of the day, that would still be nice. He'd be like, oh, so what do you do for work? I'd be like, hey, I'm one of the supply clerks at that's my job. I'm one of the supply clerks at a hospital I work at. Well, you just keep doing you, and remember, like, you follow your passion. Remember, there's nothing that you can't do in this life. And it's like, I feel like that's where that conversation would go, but it still would be pleasant. I'm going to put Michael Chandler at the bottom of A tier, okay? Sean O'Malley, more of the same with these guys. Not a ton of substance to the interaction, except I'm going to put him at the bottom of B tier. Paulo Costa's an interesting one. More of the same, but maybe he might be a little bit witty. Maybe he might be a little bit funny, so I'm going to put him a little bit more ahead. I'm actually going to put him in front of Luana Santos. Alex Pereira, I don't think this would be a good interaction, man, because he would just be like, Shama, and put his fist up. Like, there wouldn't be anything that you could take away from a meetup with Alex Pereira, but he wouldn't be a D-bag, so I'm going to put him at the bottom of C tier. That's where I'm going to throw him. Chael Sonnen. We've seen clips from Chael Sonnen. He talks to you. He is really good with his fans. He's a nice guy, man. Chael's a really, really nice guy. I'm going to throw him into the A tier. Where am I going to throw Chael Sonnen, though? I'm going to throw him in front of Rafael Dos Santos. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Honestly, I could talk about both these guys at the same time because they're pretty similar. GSP and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, they're going to be similarly placed. Both of them are really nice people. Both of them are kind. Both of them are really, really thankful for their fans. And GSP is one of those guys that you wouldn't have an interaction just like with one of those guys. GSP would really, really take his time out of the day to talk to you, especially if you see him one-on-one. Both of these guys, I believe, are S tier. GSP, I'm actually going to put him behind Cub Swanson. I think that GSP would be a really, really good interaction. And Stephen Thompson is also in the S tier, but I think GSP is a little bit better than him. I'm going to put Stephen Thompson in front of Henry Cejudo. Yeah, so very, very close. Tom Aspinall, I feel like, is in this group over here. He'd be nice. He'd be pleasant, but there wouldn't be a ton to take away from it. I'm going to throw him into the B tier. I'm going to throw him in front of Marvin Vettori. Tracy Cortez. She's not at the point yet where I talked about with some of these fighters, with these female fighters, where she's sick of the fans kind of just saying dirty things to her and sexualizing her. But she is also playing into that. So she might even like it at this point. I feel like she'd have a nice interaction. I feel like she'd have a really big, nice smile. She'd talk to you. I feel like Tracy Cortez would be a good interaction. I'm going to throw her into... I'm going to throw her at the bottom of A tier. I feel like Tracy Cortez would be nice to meet. Merab Dvalishvili, he'd be funnier than these guys, but it would be a little bit more similar. I'm going to throw Merab actually in front of Boss Rutan over here. And Vanessa Demopoulos, man, you know, as much as I don't like Vanessa Demopoulos, I could see the fan interaction with her being good. I could see her really caring about people. I could see her being really, really happy, kind of like Brandon Moreno, but not to that level. She's probably A tier. She's got to be A tier. You know what, guys? I'm actually going to throw her at the bottom of A tier right behind Tracy Cortez. And finally, we have Wei Li Zhang. Wei Li Zhang she doesn't speak English, right? She's going to be like these guys over here, except it's going to be a little bit of a bigger smile. So we're going to throw her in front of Paulo Costa. That's where I'm going to put Wei Li. I feel like it would be really, really wholesome talking to Wei Li. So this is the official tier list of how I believe fan interactions would go with fighters. Guys, if you actually have any experience with any of these fighters, please let me know down below. I would be really interested to see if you had any good experience with these guys, or if you disagree, or if you know more about somebody that I do. Again, this is all a gut reaction, and I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm right at this at all. But regardless, I appreciate you being here, watching the video. Thank you so much, guys. If you're interested and want to keep watching tier list content, why don't you check out one of these 2 tier list videos we have right here? I would love to have you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care.